Hello, Sharee. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm fine too, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interview.
Thank you.
Okay, so friends, we have Sharee here. She is a counselor, hypnotherapist, mindset coach, Psych-K practitioner, author, and entrepreneur. With over 16 years of experience working in mental health, she has helped clients change their lives by coaching them to find the source of their obstacles and define their own strategies. Oh, so you didn't give them strategies, you helped them to find their own strategies underlined. The end result is improved relationship, finding their purpose, building a stronger resilience to adversity, and developing a better understanding of their self identity. So we will talk more about identity, and which is the purpose of this session as well. Sherry is on a mission to help people reclaim their personal power by recreating who they would like to be. She teaches them to dismantle the layers of self limiting beliefs. Again, dismantle is underlined, and values and set goals for a fulfilling future. Sherry has also authored a children's book about empowerment and runs workshops, online programs, and retreats. Okay, so back, like how all this started, what motivated you to get into coaching and all that stuff, Sherry?
Well, it's like I said, I've been now on to my 17th year actually. Now going to in terms of mental health,
Mhm.
and it was around about I would say 6, 7 years ago, if I remember correctly. I was I had some time off work, and in that time I was just contemplating a lot of things in terms of why it takes a long time
Mhm.
for people to change.
Okay.
So it was this little thing that I was like, oh, I want to be able to help people, but it takes a long time. So I would see a client and I might work with them for maybe a year, 2 years, and they make some progress. And
Okay.
then life happens and then they go back and they slip back. And I was like, I wasn't really content with that. So I started understanding more about habits. And what I discovered is that it takes 66 days to change your habits.
Okay.
So that was the first thing that I started getting into, and I'm like, okay, well, I started learning about more about the subconscious brain,
Mhm.
and I was so when I did counseling, we didn't learn much about the subconscious brain at all. It's
Yeah.
we don't really touch on it at all, really, to be honest. And so I was like astounded that the subconscious is so powerful, and if you have your subconscious, if it's congruent with your conscious mind, you can get great results. So that led me to hypnotherapy, and that led me to Psych-K, and I've incorporated all these modalities together, and I can get much better results with people. So that was what happened with me. So I started, you know, not just sticking with the counselling and moving on to other modalities, and that was a big change for me. And also, again, much better results for clients,
Awesome.
rather than just working on the conscious mind.
Okay. So, Sherry, you said that earlier it used to take 1 year, 2 years working and then see some shift, and you wanted to do something else so that the time is reduced and results are better. So, my curiosity is like from 1 year or 2 years, what was the shortest like number of sessions it reduced to, like 1 month, 2 months, or like what is the distance between?
Yeah. So now I work with clients. The minimum I work with them is 4 sessions, and that's
Okay.
usually just for something like changing habits. So something that's quite basic. And now, if they've got some emotional stuff going on, then I might see them for 7 or 12 sessions. And usually 12 sessions, if they've got the emotional stuff on top of that, like I said, is pretty much it. Then they might have maintenance sessions, after that on as a thing, just to anything comes up. But other than that, I don't see them for years anymore,
Yeah,
which is great.
far better than seeing a client for years compared to 12 sessions is a massive breakthrough, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's really funny because what happens is that they want to not their problems are resolved, so they don't need to keep seeing me. So they'll say, "Oh, I'll just buy a maintenance pack, and just so you're there, but you don't really need to see me." So it's like this
Yes.
thing where we're done, and I don't want to keep seeing them either, because
Yes.
I don't want them to have this reliance on a professional to always when they've got a problem. But that's why I just have that maintenance session every now and again. But otherwise, they're
No.
fine. Don't need to see. And it's so much better. So I'm all about empowerment. And when I was just doing counseling, the results were very, very slow.
Okay, okay. Maybe that was also needed, that experience, so that now you are enjoying this shift more, the contrast. Yeah. So coming back to the identity part, what do you mean by identity? Like identity means
Yeah,
what is it all about?
it's such a great question. So identity is what I discovered for all these years of working with clients is that we have programming.
Okay.
So we're just programmed, and we adopt this identity of who we think we are.
Okay.
And yeah, so a baby is born and they don't have an identity. They're just cute little baby,
Mhm.
And what happens as that baby grows up, the parents will say, if they're a girl, "Oh, you're delicate," or you're so beautiful. And they won't, for a male, they might say you're strong and you're this, and that's forming your identity. So they start to realize now, and what I find, like say, I'll give you an example of a client that I have. Um, so he was brought up, "Oh, he's a boy, he cannot cry. He has to be
Should
strong
not
all the
cry.
time."
Should not cry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
close to strong all the time. And what happened is that he didn't feel that inside,
Mhm.
but this identity was formed for him of who we're supposed to be. And so what happens with some people, they get to an age where they're like, "I don't even know who I am. I don't feel this thing that I've adopted around me. I'm meant to be a husband or a father or a man and all these other labels. I'm a dentist, I'm whatever it is, I'm a son, whatever it is, all these labels." And they don't feel like they belong anywhere, really, because they really don't know who they are. They've just adopted all the programming from everybody else. So I kind of break those shackles a little bit, get them to peel the onion skin, so to speak. And then it's very painful when they do that, because they've never been allowed to do that before.
Hmm.
And once that happens, they start to connect to who they really are. Like, "Oh, you know what? I'm a man, but I don't feel strong. I don't want to be strong all the time. I'm very emotional, and that's okay."
That's okay.
And I have women who are not emotional, very strong. And they're like, "Oh, I don't want to be this emotional woman that I've been labeled at, and I have to be a certain person all the time." No, I don't have it all together. So it's about becoming who you really want to be. So, and that's what happens with people when they don't work on themselves. They sometimes go for a crisis, and I'm trying to avoid that. Yeah. With clients, say, well, if you continue to work on yourself, there will be no crisis. So don't think that it's going to happen necessarily. So and so what happens when people do have a crisis, the whole life falls apart. They actually blow up their life. So they might leave their relationship, they might start spending lots of money, they start to become quite anxious or depressed, they start to have conflict with their family. And that's what I'm trying to minimize. When I've got those clients coming, like, it's a lot more work. So they might need more than 12 sessions, because they're basically, cause havoc in their life and this chaos. And so we have to reduce the chaos and then start working out who they are. But when someone is starting to wonder who they are and the crisis hasn't hit yet, it's usually a lot easier to deal with.
Okay. Okay. So why specific this word midlife identity coaching? So usually at what age does this occur to any person? Sure.
I'm actually finding it's happening a lot younger. There's the cliches like in your, late 40s, 50s.
Okay.
But I'm finding people are having this identity crisis a lot earlier now. So
Mhm.
I have a lot of women who are experiencing a midlife crisis when they're around 29 now, around that age, because there's this expectation they have to be married and have kids, and they may not be at that stage yet. And that labeling is starting to really eat at them because, they may have just established a career, but they haven't achieved all these little things that they're supposed to. So they might go for a bit of a crisis at that age because they're like, well, if I don't get married, I don't have kids, what does that mean for me? Who will I become? And they ask those kind of questions.
Okay. Who will I become?
Mm.
Got it. So what is your role as a coach? Like, you have selected very unique niche of this helping people with midlife identity crisis, or maybe a person with any age might come to you. So what inspired you to work on this identity specifically?
Yeah, I think because what I found, it doesn't matter. I used to work with people who've got anxiety or depression or other issues. If I look very carefully, there's some identity issues with all of them.
Mhm.
So what the other issue that I find is that people will be like they'll grow up and they say their mother and father wanted them to become a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is. And so they grow up with that pressure of what their parents wanted them to do. And they go to university, they get their education, they get their job, and they hate that job. They really hate it, and what happens physically to someone when they are not incongruent with their values and they've done things for other people, they start to get ill. They start to get chronic pain. So I have a lot of clients that come to me for chronic pain. And what I discover, the chronic pain is usually emotional pain.
Oh my God.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And what I find is that when I dig deeper, they've never really had control over their life. They've just done what, their parents or their friends or whatever they were expected to do in life. And so when I get them to say, what do you want? Like, what is it that you really value? What did you really want to be? Not like you didn't want to be a lawyer. So what did you really want to be? And they start to, open their eyes and go, I really wanted, to be an artist or a hairdresser or whatever it was. And I'm like, well, is it possible that you can go back and do that now? And it's a very hard, difficult thing for them to answer because they're scared they're going to hurt all the people around them if they do that. And what are they going to lose if they do what they want? So they have to work out for themselves. Do they continue to work to do things with other people's expectations, or start empowering themselves and be happy for what they want to do, like and have that I guess permission for themselves to do what they want. And it's like they feel like they don't have that permission, and they could be in their 40s and still not have that permission.
Okay, so let's say, Sharee, I wanted to become doctor, but my parents wanted me to become a lawyer, and I didn't have a choice, or maybe I somehow went on being forced or whatsoever. So I went ahead and became a lawyer. So I cannot go back and become a doctor, right? In my 40s or 45s, I came to you as I need help because there is something bothering me inside. I felt I have compromised with my life and decision. So what do I do? I can't go back and become a doctor. Now I'm in a different profession. So that unfulfilled wish, and how do a coach like you help me to help with the identity which feels like I've been compromised and suppressing on all that stuff?
Yeah, that's a really good question too, because what happens if they can't, if it's something they really cannot go back to? I mean, sometimes people have gone back and to
Yes,
study, and it
agree.
doesn't matter how old they are. But if it's something that they really cannot do, like for some reason they cannot go to that the career that they've always wanted to do, we look at other things that they could possibly do. So I'll give you another example of a client where he wanted to be an actor. Yeah, he always wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
And obviously his parents said, no, that's you can't be an actor, you're not good enough, whatever. So he's now teaching kids drama classes.
Wow.
So it's about pivoting a little bit. So what can you do if you can't do have that career that you really want because you think it's, you haven't done the training, you haven't done, well, how else can you do that? That's something that you enjoy, at that part where you enjoy it and you get some energy from teaching people. And so he's loving that. So he's got a couple of young kids that he teaches drama, and he does like little productions, and he loves it. He gets that joy. So it's about pivoting, see what else you could do. Yeah.
Awesome. And now comes generally, what kind of issues people go through when they have this identity crisis?
Yeah. So what I found is that when people go for, so not when they're just asking questions, but when they've gone for a crisis, usually what happens is that their relationship falls apart.
Okay, relationship.
So they usually come to me because either their partners come to me and said, oh, my husband, my wife is having a breakdown. Please help me. And then I will help that partner and then slowly get the other partner in. Or the partner's come in and says, I want to leave my husband or my wife because I don't love them anymore. And it's usually the thing, I don't love them anymore. And they might be married for 20, 30 years. And they will put the blame on their crisis on their partner. And
Yeah,
the reason
because
for
of
that
him,
is easier.
her. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not happy because you make me unhappy.
Yes.
So, but then I'm like, no, that person doesn't make you unhappy, or suddenly just doesn't make you unhappy. What is missing in your life? So they don't really realize that the problem is with them. They think it's with their partner. And so once they start to realize that, hold on, it's me that's got the issue of I'm unhappy and I'm placing all my blame on my partner. They have a breakthrough, so that I'm trying to really salvage that relationship if possible. I mean, if the relationship is toxic, that's a different story. But if it's not, and it's just an identity crisis, it's something that can be resolved. So that's why it's really important for that person to realize and separate that relationship from their own personal problems. And so, so when they start to realize, so the classic issue, what I find is that they will bottle things up for years. And I call it sweeping the dust under the rug, sweeping all the crap under the rug. And they get to a certain age and they become numb. They become autopilot. They just feel dissatisfied. They're just going through the motions of life. And they start to buy things to try and be happy. So instant gratification stuff. So they might buy a new car. A lot of them buy motorbikes. They'll go and buy new clothes. They try to do a plastic surgery is another one, big one. They'll get plastic surgery because they're trying to find some happiness and to wake themselves up again, and so they're trying to do all this externally, but the problem is internal.
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to get them to look within. And when they do that, they start to say, oh, okay, I've lived for everybody else, but I've never really thought about my own needs. And that's what they get them to do.
Awesome. So here comes, you have developed various programs, Sharee, like, champions mindset, life reboot package, pain management, goal setting, anxiety, get it together. So is the identity work common along these programs? Okay.
Yes. there's always an element of it, because when I work with clients, I work on their values and also their shadow values. So what is it that they're been, I guess, hiding in the shadows for a long time? So when I did my own shadow work, I was very shocked that I have a control element. I didn't think I was, I like control, but I did, and I was just suppressing that somewhere. I was like, oh, now I'm celebrating. Oh, yeah, I like control, and it's okay. So there's some shadow work that needs to be done as well, because you have to love all of you, not just your golden values. You have to love your shadow values as well, and that's who you are. We have to embrace who we are.
Amazing, amazing, wonderful. So, if I ask you, could you please give some suggestions to people who are going through this identity crisis or issues, whatever? If you have some suggestions, what would they be, Sharee?
Yeah, so I would say it's a process. It's not just one thing that you have to do. It's really getting to surrender to the transition that you're going through, and not try to fight it and stop it. Because what happens, there's this sense of, oh my God, like I'm getting older and I'm not happy, and can we make this stop somehow? And we can't make time stop. Yeah. So it's about, okay, I'm going to, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to achieve? What is it that I've been holding back? And who do I need to speak to in my life that is causing me some angst? And what I mean by that is that there might be family members, maybe it's their own children, their partner, someone, a friendship, I don't know what it is, it is around them, that they're afraid they're going to hurt if they start to become someone else. And also, what happens is when someone decides to make some changes in their life, some people do not take it well around them, because they start to think, oh, you're changing, you're not, but they need to embrace that too. So there needs to be open communication with everybody and say, look, I'm going, I've like, there might be things like, I'm trying to work on myself, guys. Like, it might be their family. Let's have a meeting. I'm dissatisfied with some elements of my life. I'm going through some transition, but it's got nothing to do with you or you or you. It's something I need to do for myself. And can I have your support? That's probably number one, because if you just go off and make some changes to your life and other people start noticing that, they might start freaking out a little bit, because it's like, oh, they're changing too much, or, and what happens is that if you have the open communication and say, it's not you, it's me, I'm going through some stuff, everyone feels a little bit more relaxed. And and usually what happens is, how can I support you better as well? And that's fine. And it doesn't have to be a crisis. And that's what I'm trying to avoid with clients. You don't want to get to a crisis. You want to be a smoother transition. And we grow all the time. I think someone said it once, that we grow every 7 years or something. Like, we have these questions of our life that we go through, we contemplate, well, is this all there is? And, what do I really want for my life? When you start contemplating these questions, it's good to get some support around you, some good support. So it could be professional support, it could be family support, friendship, reading books, doing some courses maybe, and just going through it as a nice transition. Okay, don't sweep it under the rug, whatever you do, and just address it, because if you sweep it under the rug, it's not going to go away, and then that's when the crisis happens, and that's what you don't want. So have that, like, it's personal development is something that needs to be like, you have to continue to work on it. It's not something you do once and say, oh yeah, well, I did personal development once and that's it, I'm done. No, you're going to keep doing it. It's like exercise. I did a workout once and that's it. No, you're going to keep doing it.
Sharee, one question based on my assumption. Okay, so whenever you are talking about certain topics, there was a smile on your face which reflected that you did a lot of work on yourself. So you know it, you can relate to it, and that's you know, like when someone is speaking about their issues, like, hey dude, I have been there, I worked on that. Is my assumption true, that which brought smile, that yes, these things happen in life, I have worked on it, I know it, I have been through it, and I can help you through. Was that smile behind it? Was that the reason?
Yeah. I think I personally have worked on myself for years.
Yes. Okay.
It's something that I think we, like I said, we have to adopt. People are so fixated on physical health, and they just ignore the mental health until something happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it has to happen all the time. So I like to have a gratitude diary, every night, where I think about what am I grateful for. And when you're grateful, your mindset changes. The chemistry in your mind changes. You don't think about what you don't have all the time. You start to always see what is great in your life, and how to nurture that even better, and how to make that stronger. So I think it's I was never always this person though. So I when I was growing up, I had a family that would always look at the negative, always that negative mindset, be careful here, don't do this could happen, life is hard. And so I had to change my own programming, because I was like, is life that difficult? Is it really? I was afraid of the world when I was a young girl, because I was like, it must be really dangerous. And so when I had to work on myself, I'm like, oh, it doesn't have to be like that. Life can actually be fun. And so that's my motto. I look for fun all the time. Life doesn't have to be mundane. So for example, today's Wednesday. Yeah. Wednesday could be a picnic day. We don't know. We might go for a picnic tonight.
Yes.
Let's just do whatever we want to do. It's fun. Let's not make everything so structured and controlled, because life's not meant to be like that.
Thank you for sharing your personal journey as well. So next one is, Sharee, why chose to write a children's book? Why not on adults? Why not a serious
Yeah.
book, a very serious book on this, that? Why on children?
Yes. Because my youngest daughter is 5.
Okay.
And so what happened, she was watching one of those cartoons with the superheroes and stuff. And she made a remark and said, I wish I could be a superhero. And I'm like, no, but you are.
You are.
And she's like looking at me like, what are you talking about, Mum? And I said, you are. We're all superheroes. We just don't know, forgot how to use our superpowers. So the book is about empowering kids to go into their superpower, that they can change their mindset. They are very powerful. Yeah. And so I always say to her, like, so when she has problems, or like she has a bad day at kinder or whatever it is, like, did you use your superpower today? Right. And for example, she says, oh, this girl was being very mean to me, Mum. I go, well, did you use your superpowers? And she goes, yes. I took my deep breath, she says, and it's a little structure they have to do. Take a deep breath and not see the comment, like the kid says, oh, I don't like your dress, like a bad comment. Okay, let's reframe that. Get the kids to learn to reframe that. So she hurt my feelings, but I can choose how to respond to that instead of react to it. Yeah. Wow. I could be sad and I can cry and be very upset, but I can use my superpowers to reframe that and said, maybe something's going on with this little girl. Maybe I need to, respond in a different manner. So that's the reason why I create that book. So it's like a tool that parents can teach their kids also how to respond to different stuff like jealousy, hurt, so all these emotions that kids will go through, bullying. And so what happens, they have these exercises where they can practice and practice and practice. What would you do in this situation? So what happens? these little kids, that the new neural pathways start forming, and they start to, when it happens again, they're like, oh, I know what to do now.
Wow.
So I'm not going to be less reactive. I'm going to learn how to respond. And I thought, if I get kids to do this, then maybe the world will be even better later on, because these kids know how to respond to negative emotions when they feel it, instead of internalizing it and then feeling like there's something wrong with them.
Yes, and they don't need a therapist or a coach in future to work on their identity. Right from early age, they have used their superpowers. Wonderful. Such a noble cause or wonderful thought you had, and such a beautiful gift you have brought in the form of this book. So what I'm going to do is also, Sharee, I want to specifically give this link of this book if any parent or anyone wants to read this book as well. Is it available on Amazon or something?
Not yet, but I have another book that book's not, it's getting illustrated at the moment, the book.
Okay.
So the book is better as a hard copy, because a kid's book, like they like pictures, but I do have another book. So this is my book that is just got delivered yesterday.
Wow.
So that's so this is a good book to start for someone to, in terms of coaching.
Could you please move a little? Yes, elevate your
Yes. So this one will be available very soon, actually, because I've just got delivered. So it could be, it's hard copy as well as a link, so you'll get that information shortly.
Okay. What is this book all about?
So this one is it is really it's called Elevate Your Results, the most inspiring way to take results to your next level. So it gives you some tools and stuff like that, and stuff that we actually talked about is all in this book. So I do recommend it, because it's not just my chapter, there's also chapters from other coaches as well. And so you get a bit of a rounded example of how people have achieved results in their life. And so this will be a great tool for someone who wants to start their own self-development stuff, but not sure, how to start yet. So I'd recommend this book, definitely.
Is it useful for fellow coaches and therapists as well?
Yes.
Who want to work around identity part, right? Wow.
Definitely.
That's amazing. Sharee, it was wonderful having you here, and have this most important part of our life, which is identity, and the work around it. You have chosen a beautiful niche and doing amazing work around it. Thank you very much for your time and sharing all your insights, and also about your own transformation through this work.
It was a pleasure.
And what inspired me is how you could shorten years of therapy work into just 12 sessions or less. That's awesome.
Yes, because like I said, the subconscious is more powerful. So if you're able to do the change work from the subconscious, then the conscious mind will follow.
Yes, awesome.
So much quicker.
Wonderful. So thank you once again, Sharee. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Bye.